Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Weekend Kickoff brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems. We are hanging out with them again. Not a big crowd. We're doing it more low-key as we bring in Bobby Carpenter, Zach Boren, Jeremy Birmingham's down there, getting ready for a I can't say blackout. It's a wear black game.
Why can't we call it a black? Is that a?
You know why?
Because Bob, you will take it too literal.
Oh, is that a? I didn't know if that was a libations thing. I mean, I didn't know where we were going with that. So
I assume it's got to do with libations in the night game at Ohio Stadium, and they want people to.
Brian said he wanted everybody to get going.
That's what I said.
He wanted it to be as loud as the horseshoe has ever been.
I said that to him the other day. Like it was essentially Ryan Day going to the podium and saying, "Make sure everyone gets drunk all day." And I think it would have been. I appreciate if he just would have been like, "Go ahead, guys, imbibe."
Yeah. So I know that the Carpenter and Boren tailgates will be going. And, so the Ohio State social media team got admonished for saying that the blackout was activated. They're not supposed to talk about drinking, even though the horseshoe now sells beer.
I'm aware of that. They sell it. You know what? And it's not at a cheap rate either. So that's why a lot of people get out there. They're getting after it before the game, having a good time. But listen, it's the third night game in 4 weeks. So hopefully, with the experience now, they'll be able to act accordingly and understand, like, after a couple weeks of this, how to pace everything out and how to try to make sure you manage the situation and don't maybe come out of the blocks a little too fast.
I don't know about that. They're just trained now, right? They've had 2 weeks of training. Now it's like game time. Now it's the actual one.
Fall back on your training, students.
Yes.
Fall back on your training.
You perform
When the foot hits the ball,
to the level of your training.
That's right. You resort to the level of your training. There you go.
But everyone will wear black. Zach, what do you like about the black helmets or don't like about them, perhaps?
You want to know something? I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the All Blacks. I'll tell you what I'm a massive fan of, though, that they haven't brought back in a long time. And actually, our 2012 team had something to do with it because Nike came in and was like, "Hey, we're starting to do these uniforms. It was our idea, so I'm gonna take take credit for it." The all white unis on
cocaine
away.
whites. There you go.
The cocaine
The
whites away
Stormtroopers.
games. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
I love those uniforms
With the chrome helmet?
Yeah, no, I'd say we're the regular helmet.
Yeah.
You know, the regular helmet, all white unis, is basically the normal away jersey, but white pants instead of the gray. I think it looks amazing. Blackout is what it is. It's cool, but at home, we're the normal unis.
My thing is, I like the Ohio State helmet is so iconic that I don't know if that needs to be changed. And so I understand they want to go with all black, but if you're going to go do something, do the all whites, you keep the silver dome, it still looks good. The guys aren't sitting here having to break in another helmet every week. I know we do it. So
that's the worst.
It's
the worst, breaking in a new helmet.
Did you guys, when you were here, because they did change it up, did you have a practice helmet, game helmet?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what your game helmet, and it was funny, I was talking to Kevin about this, and they finally just went
Kevin Wilson.
No, not Kevin Wilson. Kevin
EQ.
The more important.
I just thought we should specify which Kevin we're talking
more
about.
important is
Kevin EQ.
Flipped a coin for which Kevin
I just want to know which Kevin we're talking about.
They would always complain, and I did, like your game helmet never felt as good as your practice helmet. It's like having a pair of shoes you would wear, all week, and then on Sundays you're going to go run a marathon, and then you have another pair of shoes you put on, and they never feel good. You'd wear it 12 or 13 times. And so your practice helmet was much more comfortable. And so now they just have one, but now they obviously have the alternate that they have to break in as well. Like the chin strap's like not the same. Like it's not identical. It's weird. There's no other way to say it.
The only good thing about the game helmet, when I was there, and you said they changed it up, I didn't even know that. But when I was there, at least the game helmet, they kept it the same one year over year if you were keeping the same helmet. So, when you're young, it kind of sucks. But, as you get older, your junior, senior year, it's broken in. It feels comfortable, but it's still completely different than the helmet you're wearing throughout the year. But those retro uniforms, like my freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, all those years we wore a different uniform, it's a completely different helmet, brand new. So you put it on, it smells like a new helmet. It feels like a new helmet. You're having to adjust everything before the game. It just, kind of sucks. But
should we do a power ranking of Ohio State alternate uniforms?
Those ones that Zach wore in 2011 against Wisconsin were pretty wild.
Yeah, those were cool. Those were actually great uniforms. My favorite was 2012. Well, you guys don't know this, but 2012 against Michigan, we had a different helmet. It was more chrome. The jerseys were the same, but actually our pants were different, and no one knew it. But it was like Nike was coming out with this brand new tight kind of pant that I think guys in the NFL got the previous year.
Yeah.
And they're the most comfortable pants we've ever had. Bob will tell you in college, dude,
You waited
those
till
pants
your
were
last
stiff.
game?
Dude, they were stiff. They were everyone was cutting like the back of the legs just to get some more room. And those pants that they have now that we kind of tested out in 2012 against Michigan, they were the most comfiest things in the world.
So the best alternate, I love the whites. If we're going to do the whites, keep the silver helmet. I love that. And then my next favorite is the classic ones that they wore in the 2014 National Championship one with the gray on the actual
A
sleeves.
little gray on the sleeve.
A little
Bob.
gray on the sleeves. I mean, I know it's a revolutionary concept when they're the scarlet and gray, to have the gray on the sleeves and not to have your red jersey mistaken for like Indiana or Nebraska
Or Wisconsin.
Put a little gray in there, and then they have the black numbers over top. And I could take or leave the black numbers. That doesn't really matter. But the gray on the sleeves, I'm just incredibly partial to it because without the gray on the sleeves, it's just a red jersey with black and white trim.
I don't consider those ones an alternate uniform because those are the correct
Originals,
uniforms.
yes.
That's
So
the
like
actual
they've
Ohio
been
State
wearing
uniform.
an alternate every other game for the last 10 years. So it's these ones now are just sort of so generic.
What was your favorite then, Burb?
I think I was a fan of the all whites more than anything else. The 2011 ones with the weird helmet were pretty cool, like the two with the big chunkier stripe, and then I liked the gunmetal helmet.
Gunmetal gray.
2016,
cannonball.
right?
Yeah, the
against Penn State.
2016 Cannonball one. I
Cannonball.
like that one too. I just thought that was unique. But I agree that the Ohio State helmet is iconic and you should just move everything else around and keep that the same.
Oh, and here's the thing. I don't mind it for Wisconsin.
I did not like the all reds, by the way.
The Reds I'm not a big fan of the all Reds. That I think is the worst of all the alternate uniforms.
Well, the Land of the Wolves.
Yeah, I think the Land of the
Gray
Wolves is
was-
the worst.
That had to be
The Land of the
worst
Wolves
alternate.
white one that they wore at Michigan was
okay.
pretty good.
The gray was terrible.
Here's the thing. At Michigan, you need to have the classic uniform. If you're going to try it out, I have no problem with Wisconsin. You can try it out here. Pick a decent game in the middle of the season. Try something out there. For Ohio State, Michigan, when you line up, you turn the television on, you walk into the game, you are expecting to see a certain look. And a look that you have seen for 75 years. I understand that there was different times, but since like 1950, the uniform's basically been the same, I think.
Don't you think they should all
Yeah,
wear
but-
wear home uniforms in that game?
Get out. Why are you at the color rush? Why are you
I just
wanna-
like I
That's
don't
like-
want color
that's-
rush. I want
that's like
the
UCLA,
I
right?
want
That's their
Scarlet
thing.
I want
That's what
Scarlet
they do.
versus maize. That's what I want. And maize
Well, it's
and
not
blue.
maize,
That's what I
it's
want.
blue.
It's
But-
blue, maize,
Yeah,
whatever.
it is.
I want the scarlet and gray versus the maize and blue, and I want them right in your face.
That would be a
Yeah,
real
except-
horrendous show if they actually wore maize jerseys
Oh,
against.
they have
They have them.
They
against
have
the
before
Scarlet,
the
though,
all
just
maize. Yeah,
putting them
it looked
together.
terrible.
Yeah, it's just like a big hot dog.
But at Michigan in 2013 was the all white, and the all white looked great.
It
Yeah,
does. Just don't change the helmet. When you line up, I want
keep the helmet.
I
Keep
want
the
to see the two helmets, like, because they're very contrasting styles and they look fantastic.
Yeah, one's good and one's really not.
Yes, good versus the classic
Right.
good versus evil matchup, Cotton.
Yeah.
All right, so we are starting weekend kickoff, brought to you by Bryant Heating Cooling Systems, with the longest fashion breakdown that we possibly could have had. We can talk about football. We don't have to. We can keep talking about uniforms, or we can talk about Zach Boren being removed from another record. There's been a fullback touchdown for the Buckeyes.
It was you were the last one.
Yeah,
That's
come
awesome.
on, Bob. Yeah,
That's
of course.
awesome.
I couldn't remember. People were talking about it in the press box. When was the last time this happened? I said, I know exactly when it was. Zach Boren in September, I think maybe UAB, was it?
Yep.
I said, I think he was coming out of the shotgun, so he might not have even been an actual fullback for that.
He was a tailback.
It was.
It was
Technically tailback, but from a fullback standpoint, I know I scored against Indiana
Okay.
as a fullback coming out of the fullback position.
Oh,
but
that's right. That was also a record that was broken.
Wait.
The last player that played
both ways.
both ways in the
Yeah.
season.
Didn't everybody that played in that game get to score though? That was sort of the way it went.
Was that the
In what game?
52-49
The
game?
Yeah,
Indiana
the
game?
Indiana game.
No. That was this was at Indiana early on in my
Oh,
career.
okay. So not
Oh, yeah.
the 52-49
No,
game. My apologies.
That was my first game on defense.
Yeah.
So no, that wasn't happening. But I know last year, or was it 2 years ago? Maybe whatever. I was taking out the record books for
Yeah.
both ways in a game, and now taking out Mitch. Listen,
Do you have to
I-
like meet Mitch after the game and give him like a red jacket or something to be
No,
like?
but he's been very outspoken on social media this week, and he didn't even give like a tip of the hat, like, "Hey, my fellow brothers that came before me, Zach, I love you." Nothing.
Unbelievable.
That was it.
He was like 12 years old when you scored.
That's okay. You want to know something? I don't even consider him a fullback. He calls himself a tight end.
Yeah.
If you call yourself a tight end, you're not a true
Doesn't
fullback.
count.
I would never say.
I don't think he's a fullback. So I mean, he was just a tight end lined up at
Fair
fullback.
enough.
They
I
call
don't
him an
know.
HC.
It was the I formation.
Yes, it was. It was. They had the extra tackle in. They had Cade in there with it. I mean, Cade might really be the rightful heir. I mean, this guy started games and played like 60 snaps at tight end, and then last year 60 snaps at linebacker. I mean, he's probably the one that is the rightful king of
The chosen one.
yes, sitting on the Iron Throne, if you will, for the two-way player.
How hard is it, do you think, for C.J. Stroud, who's never handed the ball off to a fullback before, to have the mental acuity to turn around and immediately hand it off?
To even take a snap.
Yeah, I'm
like
saying.
it wasn't
They
like he could
practice
just
it.
do
Isn't
that.
that the
They
first?
practice it.
It's the first thing that you learn. How
I know,
to
but he
do.
hasn't
Like,
done it.
But they don't learn that anymore.
He hasn't
The
done
kids,
it in years.
like our kids, like growing up now, these kids learn how to play in shotgun. They don't learn how to take a snap. I was teaching a third, fourth, like you got to get down there. Like, this is how we're gonna do it. Hands together, don't split them so the ball shoots through. Like, I mean, I played quarterback in junior high growing up. Like in my freshman year, you learn how to take snaps. You do it every day. These guys don't do that. Like they
but also
play in the
to
shotgun.
then turn and hand it to a
Yes.
fullback who's a lot closer to you
Because
than
your footwork,
yeah.
like your footwork was critical then. Like turn here, it's all like hands of a clock, go through all that stuff. These guys have never done this. Like catch it, look around, fake it maybe, chuck it
Bob,
deep.
they've done it in practice a lot. Listen, when I was in
The
college,
term-
we ran plays probably 500 times in practice that still have never been called in a game to
Because-
this day.
Okay, that's okay.
That's true.
And that was early in your career, and that was with Coach Tress, and that was
Fair-
a little
fair
bit
enough.
a little bit of a different
a
situation.
little more limited actual
He would
play
save
sheet.
those plays up for Michigan
Oh,
and then
yeah.
use them then.
Oh, we would practice so many plays that just
Blame
gone.
that. I would watch
Yeah.
the game. There
Dude,
wasn't.
my senior year, 2012, we practiced, Bob. I don't even know if you were coming around to practice then. We 15 spring practices. I would say 10 of them, and one of them was like a Saturday scrimmage where it was live. We practiced the Rhino package with, which guess who was at quarterback?
you.
I was. Right? It was like Tim
Oh,
Tebow
Tim
package.
Tebow,
It was the Tim Tebow
yes.
package, and they called it Rhino because I wasn't Tim. I looked like a rhino. And we literally practiced it 10 out of 15 practices. There was one scrimmage where literally we took 50 snaps in this.
How excited were you?
Oh, dude, I was ecstatic. I'm like, this is the greatest thing in the world. Like, this is gonna be awesome. Did anyone see that package come?
Did you ever
I
like
never-
lobby
I
for it?
never
Did
saw
you
it,
ever
Zach.
in a
Oh,
game?
hey, the Michigan game. I know they got down the goal line one time, and I was yelling. I came off the bench because I saw like we were down at like the 3-yard line, and I was yelling for it. And too quickly, they went like NASCAR, got up there, Carlos Hyde into the end zone. I'm like, oh man.
So,
You would have won
This-
the Heisman
when
if the
Urban,
Rhino-
this was when Urban was back. Did you ever tell him I'm Tim Tebow? And he was like, no, you're not.
No, we haven't. No, but we had the jump pass in and everything.
Yeah.
Oh
You know?
gosh.
Urban was
Oh.
confused because Zach is so much better looking than Tebow.
Right.
That is true.
So
That is true.
Yeah.
And I married Miss Universe as well.
Look at that.
That's false.
Winning points.
That's false.
I don't
Winning
know.
points on the
Anyway, yeah,
Bryant
we'll
Heating and
leave
Cooling
that
show.
there.
Love it.
This matchup, who needs to shine for the Buckeyes to beat Wisconsin on Saturday night? Who do you have your eye on, Bob,
Ooh, who do I have my eye on? Well, I'm going to
so to speak?
naturally go to the defensive side of the ball because if you can slow down Wisconsin and they can't drive the football, because that's what they do. They want to possess the ball. You get frustrated. You can't score 77 points on 11 possessions if you don't get the ball back quickly and are efficient with it. So if they can put together drives, it just bogs you down. It's hard to develop a rhythm. Ryan Day talked about that. So, you look at the defensive line a little bit, but really in particular, two guys. The line, obviously Cody or Steele and Tommy in there at linebacker, but I think you're going to get a chance to maybe see a lot of Cody Simon as well. And then also, Court Williams, he's a bigger safety.
Mhm.
He's like linebacker size at safety. So this might be a situation everyone's like, how are they going to stop the running game in this 4-2-5? Okay. Well, you get a guy who plays safety but is the size of a linebacker, and he's one of those 5 defensive backs. I mean, Court weighs, he might tell you weighs 220, but I mean,
He doesn't look like he weighs 220.
no, he does not. He is a beefy 220 at best. So you get him in there. So those are the two guys that I look at, like when they get in those, 2 tight end, 2 back situations, or even just normal personnel where they're going to try to hammer it. You get those guys in there so you don't have to start bringing extra safeties down and doing this stuff. You have big physical bodies that can handle that can tackle. So maybe it's a third linebacker sometimes. Maybe that's a guy like Court Williams. Maybe they play just some of the normal 4-2-5 stuff, but that differentiation will be able to change it up. I think it'll confuse them a little bit. But those two guys will be in there, I feel, and if they can play well and be efficient at their jobs, that'll be critical.
This is a defensive line and linebacker game. I hate to go on the defense side of the ball, but
don't hate it.
No, I know, but against Wisconsin, you have to stop the run. The only way Wisconsin has a chance in this game is if they can dominate the time of possession. We saw Notre Dame do that in the first half, and then you saw the second half. Notre Dame or the Ohio State defense had a beat on them, and it just broke the game open. If you can get ahead of Wisconsin and make them throw the ball to try and catch up, game over. And so this whole game is predicated on how well Ohio State's defensive line and linebackers can kind of control the line of scrimmage. I know when I played against Wisconsin as a linebacker, this is a game you get up for. You know they're going to run the football. You know it's not one of those offenses where they're spreading it out, running you sideline to sideline. You know you were playing within a phone booth, tackle to tackle, and you are coming downhill and smacking dudes. And so I look at what Tommy Eichenberg is going to do. I look at what Steel Chambers is going to do because, quite honestly, the last time they were in a game like this was Ann Arbor last Thanksgiving. That was the last time they faced a running attack that says, hey, we're running the football and we're coming downhill at you. And so it's how can you respond to that? What can you do to set the tone early? I'm just excited to see what Tommy's going to do with what he's shown this year, what Steele's been able to do. And then down front, hey, I hate to say it, Larry Johnson, you're the greatest. But it's time to stop rotating, guys. It's time to get your dogs in there that can go in there every single snap. And the only time where you're rotating is when those guys are sucking wind. But hopefully it doesn't happen because hopefully there's a lot of 3 and outs.
Why do I like when Zach says stuff that I've been saying? It makes me feel so smart. Stop rotating guys on the defensive line.
Did you pay him to say that?
I didn't pay him. But
champion him?
Yeah, I will. I will pay him. It's in the mail now. Now that he actually said it. I didn't pay him up front. Who you're watching?
Tyleek Williams, I think, is the guy that has to be different to sort of mirror what Zach said. To me, the defensive tackles are what makes the difference in a game like this. Is Michael Hall healthy enough to play the majority of the reps? And is Tyleek Williams consistent enough to stop the run, which is something he did last week? He was, I think, the highest graded defensive tackle in the country, according to Football Focus or whatever last week. Yeah, which is a big step up for him. He's been inconsistent at times, and we've talked about it a lot over the last year. The lack of, I don't want to say dedication, but a lack of conditioning consistency has plagued him. He played the best game he's played in the last year, in my opinion, against Sweeto. And I think if those two guys, two young guys, and then JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer, I think that's, you got to just dominate this game up front. So I want to see those 4 second-year defensive linemen dominate.
I think this is a Mayan Williams game.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
And I know.
Oh, wow.
My theory right now.
Mihan
Yeah.
Williams.
Well, that was too far on that one. Let's be careful now.
Mihan Williams.
Travion Henderson, I think he's practicing. I think we can say he's probably not going to be at 100%. But even if he is, I just can't shake this feeling that
I can't fight this feeling anymore.
I want to fight it. I don't want it to be right.
You've forgotten what you started fighting for.
I know what I'm fighting for, Bob.
Okay.
I know exactly, but the feeling just keeps coming at me, and that is that Travion, when healthy, is going through some of the same things that J.K. Dobbins did in 2018.
It's a little bit of the yips.
A little bit.
It's a little bit of the yips.
And it's time for him to bring that ship into the shore.
Oh boy. And swinging too hard, trying to hit home runs every time, dancing around a little bit.
What happened to swing your sword?
Well, you guys got any more of those?
I haven't given you any.
Okay. I thought maybe you were keeping it, but
no.
I can finish it off.
No, but I get
anyway,
it.
So the point is that I think that Travion Henderson has by far the highest athletic ceiling of those running backs. Mayan Williams is a hard runner, physical, gets downhill, makes a decision and goes. He's not quite as beefy as he once was, but you still don't want to tackle him. And I felt, as Berm heard a lot of times, and Zach did too in 2018, that I thought that Mike Weber was a better fit for what they were trying to do offensively if JK wasn't able to work through that. Now, JK did have a higher ceiling in the long run, and the next year he showed why that was. Travion can easily do the same thing. He could get out of it by Saturday night or next week or 2 weeks or whenever. But I feel like for what Ohio State is trying to do offensively and the identity that they're trying to forge with a power rushing attack, Mayan probably gives them a better chance of doing that, in my opinion, right now. So that's where I'm at.
Just probably, I think, to run the ball downhill. I still think in space, Travion's he's much more elusive. And here's the thing, like you said, I think he's searching for home runs instead of just taking singles and doubles.
Right.
And then
1,000,000%.
one of those times you rip that and all of a sudden it's a line drive home run and you see him crease it and go. And so that's, like you said, that's what JK, you start searching for the long run and you end up not getting near what you should on a given play because you pass up a good hole trying to find a great one. So hopefully they'll be able to get through that. They have a great relationship. I don't think that there's a worry where, hey, I'm not having success. Tony's going to pull me. Tony Alford, that is. I think he feels pretty confident in that. Just hopefully he kind of gets through that psychological element of moving forward.
But to Berm's point, and don't take this the wrong way, but I think the running back has to complement the quarterback. And I think in this offense, if you're looking at C.J. Stroud's a phenomenal quarterback, right? We saw what J.K. Dobbins and Justin Fields were able to do in 19.
Yeah.
But when it's 2nd and 10 because Travion tries to hit the home run and doesn't get any yards, 2nd and 10 is a lot harder than a 2nd and 7 or 7 and 6, right? You know Mayan Williams can get 3 to 4 yards every single carry. It's just what he has shown. He gets you the tough yards. C.J. Stroud's a completely different weapon in 2nd and 6, right? In 2nd and 7 because he's got the threat of the deep ball. He's got the threat of that intermediate passing game. I mean, 2nd and 10 and guys tee off on you, it's more difficult.
Especially maybe against a team that wants to blitz a lot. And you're going to.
Oh, you think they're going to blitz with Jim Leonard?
Do you think that they won't?
I think that's all they do.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that I was on the same page with you as well, because I clearly am with Zach. We're going to try something new tonight and bring in the Bryant Whiteboard, put Zach and Bobby up there and let them break it down X's and O styles. Just trying out new things on weekend kickoff. And Berm and I will take a seat for a little bit, and we'll be back with our hottest takes and more in the second half of weekend kickoff, which is brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems.
All right, we're back in here. Going to take it to the whiteboard and talk a little bit about what Wisconsin does. So what we're going to see here, this is 13 personnel for Wisconsin. What does that mean? Well, the 1 means 1 running back. The 3 means the 3 tight ends. So we have a Y there that's a tight end, a Y there that's a tight end, and then a Y there that's a tight end. So we have a little YY wing, 1 on the backside. And then since you have 5 eligibles, the receivers are implied. So we have the X receiver sitting back here, and this is how Ohio State will probably line up. Well, most likely, they'll have a number of different formations, but this is one of their classic ones that they'll line up on defense. And so, Zach, why don't you talk a little bit about the inside zone run that they're going to be seeing and what they're trying to get accomplished?
This is old school Wisconsin. They've been showing this for the longest time, and like you said, this is 13 personnel. You'll also see it out at 22, which is 2 running backs, and that's when they bring the fullback in the game. A lot of times you'll see him in the strong position, they call it. But yeah, this is typical inside away zone. We call it away because you've got a strong side player going away from where the ball's actually going. You'll see this quarterback, easy turnout, running back gets the ball. Everyone is showing zone up front. What's that mean? All of these guys are zone stepping, right? They're zone stepping and try and stay square. And when, Bob, you can show them. Yep, when they stay square, what happens is this tailback comes here and he's looking at kind of the outside butt cheek of the offensive guard. Why he gets square is because once he gets here, with everyone being square and zoning up front, he can pick the cutback. He can stay forward. If his shoulders are facing this way, he can't make the cutback. So when they teach this in the running back room, which I was in for a long time, they want the running back coming straight downhill so he can cut back. He can take it out here. He can take it straight up. And so you're going to see this all the time with Wisconsin. They can also run pass plays off of it. You're going to see the fake zone away instead of the YY coming back and blocking kind of the outside person, which a lot of times will be this defensive end because he's going to stay on the outside shoulder. He'll fake the block, get out into the flat. We see it all the time with the X receiver kind of showing a block and then going deep. So they can show multiple different looks off of this.
So what the goal is here offensively is they want to try to zone, and they're going to try to zone and get double teams, get some penetration, and then climb to guys. They want to climb, and in doing that, as the running back stays square, they're going to find where that greatest level of push is and find one of these seams right here to be able to run through, as Zach just talked about. So they're going to find one of those seams to be able to cut through. They want to get a little bit of a push. It always seems so much better when you're drawing up. So they want to get a little bit of a push, climb through here, climb up here, and try to cut off there. He'll climb here. This tight end who's coming all the way back, he's going to cut off this defensive end. Now, like Zach said, they can run the ball. They can fake this. He goes here, run a route. He comes down here. Quarterback rolls out, and they'll throw it. But what they have to do is with the linebackers, you have to come down, take the double teams off, be fast to get here. Boom, fit there. Strong safety has to fit there. Corner needs to get to the outside. Will has to fit there. And if you're slow to get to these fits, that's where you start to get these bubbles, and they're able to cut through and find a seam.
Well, the other thing that Bob pointed out, which is what makes this system so hard to defend, is everyone's getting double teamed in the front, right? You've got all four down linemen pretty much getting a double team with everyone working to the second level. And what we mean by second level is you've got the backside guard tackle doubling up, or the backside tight end tackle coming up and getting to the will. You've got the backside guard and center getting on the backside nose up to the mic, right? You've got, or you saw that. Yeah. I messed it up.
I've altered this board.
You have altered the board. You've altered it big time. But they've all got double teams working up to the second level. And so like Bob said, the way you defeat it is these guys can't sit there and just let it react and sit on their heels. Because once that happens, you've got these big guys up front that are going against the big uglies of Wisconsin, are 330 pounds across the board, and they will get them off the ball. So these guys got to find the run lanes, got to attack them, got to get downhill. And then the other thing is, you got to try and get as much penetration to force the tailback's hand. If you let him get all the way downhill and let all these double teams form, he's going to find a crease and he's going to be able to break one.
Absolutely. And so getting downhill, and then that's where the run-pass conflict comes into play for the linebackers. You want to be fast, get downhill to fill this up, to build a flat wall across the front. But in doing that, you have to keep an eye on this tight end coming back across the block. They can slip this guy out. They can slip that guy out. And then these safeties have to really have great eye control to make sure, because they're the last level of defense, to be able to lock in here in this corner on the edge in case they slip this tight end out, run him on a corner route. So this is one of these plays that you'll see, and they can do it from this look. They can take this tight end, put him here as a fullback, run him out, and do the same type of play. So they'll dress it up a lot of different ways. They'll run motion to it, try to confuse you, and try to confuse the linebackers and safeties, get you thinking, and then do a multitude of actions off of it. But this is Wisconsin, one of their bread and butter plays that they've been running for about the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, and Bob brought up a great point, and this is the hardest part about this offense, that if you let them keep on getting chunk yards and working their way down the field, the hardest guys to defend are these two right here, because these guys over time, guess what they're going to do? They're going to start cheating up, right? Hey, these guys are getting first downs. They're running the ball against us. They're going to try and cheat it. Then what happens? Play action. These guys get sucked up. This guy shows something, and guess what? He's got the post to the middle of the field, and this guy is on an island, and as a corner, one-on-one man coverage, it's so hard to defend the post, especially when you've got no help to the middle. So these two guys back here have to be great, and the other guy that's got to be great is that guy, because there's not going to be much help all night long.
There you go. The inside zone defended by the Ohio State Silver Bullet defense.
All right, that was fantastic. Thanks to Bob and Zach for drawing that up for us. Berm, you got all that? You know how to stop the inside zone?
The one guy has to cover that one spot.
Yeah.
And then the other guys have to make sure that when the guys come at them with two guys, they have to be like out of the way.
Like, stop.
Yeah.
You want to know something after a game like this? We didn't mention after a game like this. This is when the linebackers take defensive linemen out to dinner, right? This is when you it's a night game, so not. But if it was a 3:30 game, they'd be buying them beers after the game because you want to know something. Those defensive linemen, if they can take on those double teams and not let those guys get any penetration or pushback on them, and those linebackers can run free, they are much happier than having a 330-pounder in their face.
That's why I think a guy like Tyleek Williams is so important, because he's one of the true space eaters on this Ohio State defense. One of the guys that, Teron Vincent's played well this year, but he's a smaller defensive tackle and is not really designed for offensive lines like Wisconsin.
And so the other thing, too, we didn't even talk about this, is if those defensive linemen can split the double team and get penetration, force the back to declare early, and that's a huge help because then the linebackers can just see it and run. And with as fast as Tommy and Steele are playing right now, and Cody as well, I mean, that has been a huge advantage for them. Last year, we saw a much more hesitant defensive line, maybe not as aggressive where they were supposed to be. Linebackers a little more uncertain in what they were supposed to do, and because of that, you saw those seams and gaps, and you're watching Oregon run the football all over the place. So not the case in the first 3 games.
And Berm, I know what you're saying about space eaters, but I was literally about to say what Bobby said before he said it. A lot of teams will go with smaller, quicker guys, right? And
just to cut that gap.
And you line them up in the gaps, and you say get skinny and try and get penetration as quickly as possible, because penetration kills this offense. They're relying on these guys up front getting double teams and pushing back into the second level, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can get guys that are quick, and space eaters work too, but are able to break the double teams and get skinny and get through, that's
I mean, somebody
huge.
like Mike Hall, perhaps?
Mike Hall would be massive. A guy that's quick off the ball, blows things up.
Well, we saw what he did to Notre Dame, right? And that's obviously offensive line-wise, when you talk about just comparing them, Notre Dame and Wisconsin should be somewhat similar.
Yep.
We didn't see a lot of Court Williams against Notre Dame.
We would.
We thought we would for this very reason. Do you think that Jim Knowles and the Ohio State defense is adapting to that and saying, hey, Notre Dame did a really good job controlling the clock in the first half?
I think a little bit, too, was a degree of uncertainty with what they were going to see from Notre Dame. And just they ran a lot of 12, like we were talking about 12, 13 personnel, like multiple tight ends on the field. But Wisconsin doesn't usually take their tight ends and then put them outside of the core. You saw
that with Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer. So you're like, he's a tight end, but they're kind of playing him as a wide out. He can do both. And so this is going to be a lot more defined. And so I would imagine if you're going to see Court Williams in a situation like this and go like a bigger safety package, this would be a game that you would see a little bit more of. Like in Illinois, teams that you kind of have an idea. Plus, it's the opening game of the season, and it's really tough. Like, you don't have any current film of what exactly they were trying to do. There's, I know Reese was there, but the staff have different ideas of maybe what they want to do without Brian Kelly. So I think this is now they have 3 games of film. You understand what this Wisconsin offense is. Maybe you throw a third linebacker in there. You get Cody Simon in. Maybe you bring in Court Williams, and change it up a little bit. And so I think that there's those elements that you can do because you have 3 games of film.
Yeah, I also think it all depends how the defensive line plays early.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talk about that front 6 of the, 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers. It's, can they stop that front? Or do they need to bring in a Cody Simon? Do they need to bring in Court Williams? Do they need to bring some extra guys in there to beef up what Wisconsin's showing at them, right?
Coaches are worried, like, is there any seepage, Zach?
No doubt. Is there any seepage?
Well, and like, they joke, like, we're getting oozed where it's the running back, the lineman's getting pushed, you're getting hit at like 1 or 2 yards, but the next thing you know, it's a 5-yard gain.
That happened to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It did.
They got oozed.
The secret of the ooze.
Yeah, they got oozed, and look what happened.
Well, they
got shredded.
Well,
crime-fighting turtles.
Yep.
So,
ooze in that case actually helped save New York.
yes.
And a lot of people forget.
How about that ooze in Ghostbusters too?
Now that destroyed New York.
That's a different.
It's
ooze.
weird how many crazy things happen in New York.
Well,
We
it's
get
also
so off
weird.
topic,
It's also weird how different oozes have different effects.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't really tell.
Made the Marshmallow Man giant.
That's true. That's the ooze news for this week.
I was going to have a segue in there to get to the Bryant Heating and Cooling hot takes, but that's long gone because of the ooze segment that popped in between. I'll start so that you guys can think about it. I was going to talk about everything I learned from you all and parlay that into what I've said for about 3 weeks in a row about the Ohio State defensive line. Mike Hall, my hot take, should not come off the field unless he literally cannot breathe. Zach talked about this early on in the first segment. I think there is. Whether Jim Knowles sort of hinted at this on Tuesday, and I tried to follow up on it because he had kind of talked about how the defensive tackles behind Mike Hall were not being strong enough at the point of attack. And then a switch kind of went off in his brain. He's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, because Austin just followed up on it and he's like, do these guys not play that well behind Mike Hall? And he's like, oh, no, they're doing great. Sure, they're playing really well.
Yeah, you're just not seeing it.
Yeah, no, because they're not getting sacks, you're not seeing it. I'm like, I think I do see what's happening with Jerron Cage out there, and it's not the same as when Mike Hall is. So, Zach, my hot take, Mike Hall has to play every single snap that he's available for.
I love it.
Okay, good.
I love it.
Check is still in the mail.
Yes. You kind of took mine. The hot take was,
are these two dating?
Hey, the hot take was going to be,
Sure.
you are going to see
Glad
minimal.
Zach's hands are above the table.
Yeah, both of them are. You're going to see minimal defensive substitutions, especially in the front seven, and I agree with that. But I will switch and go off of that.
Okay.
And I think besides a true freshman running back like last weekend, one of Mayan Williams or Travion Henderson, and back to segment 1, I do think it's going to be Mayan Williams is going to rush for over 100 yards this week.
I love that.
Yes.
Zach has some great takes this week.
And everyone's talking about, jumping out on Wisconsin. CJ Stroud throwing the ball around. You get up on them. They can't hang with you. I believe in it. I made that comment earlier. But I think it's going to come from running the football. I think Ryan, in an atmosphere like that, is going to let Mayan Williams get going, and I think it's going to be reversed. A lot of times you see Ohio State throw the football to open up the run. I think they're going to go with the opposite approach. They know Wisconsin's coming in here. They know it's going to be a physical matchup. Ryan Day's finally confident enough in his team that they can out-physical teams compared to years past, and they're going to run the football to set up the throw.
I think what we're hearing Zach talk about is competitive stamina. I think that's where he's going. We've heard Ryan talk a lot about that.
A little bit.
Hey, they opened the game last week, 4 runs, 4 passes. Like there was a concerted effort to run the ball. I think that will be the case again, because the only way to get tougher is to try to be tough against tough teams. Like, as much as I love Arkansas State and Toledo, they don't necessarily provide.
How much is that?
Yeah, why do you love Arkansas State and Toledo?
Well, my buddy's the defensive coordinator for Arkansas State.
Okay, that's one reason. What about Toledo?
Toledo's an Ohio school. It's in the MAC. So
TOL.
And Berm lives near Toledo.
And I like Dallas Gant as well. So
Rockets.
Toledo is kind of like the.
Bob just pulled that one.
It's the front line, if you will, on the border. Like you are an espionage spy that lives in Michigan, but Toledo, is right there defending, against all the evils.
They fought a war over that area.
They really did.
You know that?
Yeah, I mean it's.
Berm actually sees that on a daily basis because
Absolutely.
he's at the first mile marker across the border.
You're like literally West
Germany,
right there, right on the front lines. I mean, that's what Toledo is, trying to defeat communism.
That's right.
My hot take is going to be my Bryant Heating Cooling Systems hot take.
Yes,
will be that in a game like this, Wisconsin's going to want to run the ball. With what I've seen with Tommy, Steele, and Cody, I think they're going to combine for at least 25 tackles in this game. AJ Hawk, I believe, set the tackle record in 2004 when we played him. He had like 19 or something crazy. And I'm not sure exactly how the rotation's going to go. If there'll be 2 on the field, they'll have 3 on the field more. And I was going to say maybe Tommy and Steele, but I think Cody's going to probably get some decent run. With how those guys are playing, and you don't usually see the linebackers lead the team in tackles. A lot of times last year was Ronnie, it was whoever. But they've been doing a great job. With their speed and how aggressive they are, I think they'll combine for 25 tackles.
Big linebacker game.
Yeah, why not?
Over 25 tackles? I would have thought you said more than that, Bob.
I mean, what am I going to say, 30, 10 apiece?
Yeah.
That's a
Didn't
lot.
Chris Spielman have like 35 in a game
Because that's
Michigan?
when teams used to just line up and run
He's
fullback
talking
dive
about like
and he'd dive
the
on the
new
pile.
modern era. Because
Yes.
Tom Cousineau, I think, had like 1,000 in one game. Spielman had 2,000.
That was back when you touched the ball carrier before he hit the ground, you were credited with half a tackle.
They would give a lot of.
Are you calling Chris Spielman a liar?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying
he's
that
not
now.
the scorekeeper.
Hey, I'm not the scorekeeper. I just
Isn't
remember when I was playing, I'd be like, man, okay, you start counting tackles, be like,
well, they gave
I
Jack
had a lot
Sawyer
more
a
than
sack.
8. What happened?
Felt like more than 8.
Yeah, it felt like I had like 16.
Jack Sawyer got a sack last week when Tyleek Williams picked someone up and threw him into the quarterback, and Jack got the sack somehow.
Jack pushed him down. But yeah, they used to have what they were called JOPs, jump on piles, like an aggressive JOP. They give you a tackle for that.
Are you down with JOP?
Are you down with JOP, Bob?
JOP, OPP. I mean, you know me, you know Berm. He's good with everything as well.
Yeah, I mean, JOP stands for other people's property.
Aggressive jump on pile right
Oh,
there.
Other people's property.
Yeah.
J'other people's.
It's my turn to hot take, right?
Yeah, it is. Spoiler alert. We'd already finished.
Spoiler alert.
We'd already finished the show, and then the sound card was full. So you're missing on some great
Guys,
content.
we weren't supposed to say that.
I like to be full disclosure with our audience.
Here's full disclosure. Emeka Ibuka is going to have 250 yards receiving against Wisconsin.
You had two.
Yeah, I'm
sorry,
not done. I'm
Two
not done.
hot takes.
I'm not done.
Oh,
hot take,
fine.
Steeler.
I'm not stealing them. You can have whatever you want.
But
I already gave mine.
on the other side of the ball, Cody Simon's going to lead Ohio State in tackles
Mm.
because, believe it or not,
I'm walking on air.
I'm walking on sunshine.
Either way.
And Tommy Eichenberg, who is literal sunshine in human form.
Yes.
He is?
I mean,
He doesn't smile, but he's very fair-skinned. And
I actually asked on Wednesday night, we were at Ohio State for player availability after practice, and I asked Ryan Day if he's ever heard Tommy Eichenberg tell a joke.
I don't know if I've ever seen him smile. So joke is out of the question.
So that was sort of – so Perry Eliano said his goal every week, every practice, is to find some way to make Tommy smile.
That's awesome.
Has he ever succeeded?
He did not say if he'd succeeded or not, but I think Wisconsin doesn't want him to smile either.
Mm.
So they're going to find some ways to play away from him. And I think Cody Simon, who's going to play a lot of reps, as Bob already said, it seems like a game where you could see potentially a 4-3 set, a traditional 4-3 set for Ohio State. I think Cody Simon's going to be the guy to clean up a lot of the messes. And I think he's in for a big, big night.
Clean up on aisle 5.
I don't know which one is.
Graham Mertz wears number 5.
I don't know which one is hotter on the take scale, Cody Simon or 250 yards.
250 for Emeka. How do you stop? How do you stop all these guys? And you have to choose one of them to sort of try to just man up and play solo coverage against, right?
If he gets 250, it's got to be off of just broken plays and he goes long. Because Bob will tell you back in the day when we were there, and it's still this way now. In primetime games, those coaches will draw up specific plays for their star players. Jackson, with Ryan kind of seeing him go through the motions last week against Toledo being on a snap count, this week he's drawing up plays specifically for Jackson, and it's going to be a coming out party for him. And he's going to I don't disagree that Emeka is going to have some yards.
Is this you telling America that Emeka Ibuka is not a superstar?
No. Emeka Ibuka is great. He's
you
phenomenal.
heard it here first, folks.
Do you realize how many yards 250 yards
That's a lot of yards.
It's got to be
2.5 fields, Cotton.
Thank you. That it is. And that's a lot of running for Emeka Ibuka with one football and a lot of other wide receivers to throw around to.
Because Marvin Harrison is also still out there. That guy is an alien. Jackson Smith and Jigba, if he's healthy. Julian Fleming comes back, catches 2 touchdowns, including stealing one away from his teammate in the back of the end zone, apparently, according to C.J. Stroud. That ball was for Marvin Harrison. Then Cade Stover.
The world's greatest tight end.
Mayan Williams. Mitch Rossi. Travion Henderson. Jim Leonard, I wish you good luck, and everybody else in the Big Ten.
He's going to try to bring some heat. We'll see if they can cover, though. When you mentioned they're down 3 defensive backs, that's
what a smooth segue.
It's a bumpy situation.
Okay. Spread is
I'll be
16
covering.
to 8.
I was talking about
covering the spread.
ABC.
I'll be covering the spread.
Game is on ABC. Always be covering. Bob, what's your score prediction?
Good teams win. Great teams cover. I got the line at 16.5 earlier in the week, knowing it was going to balloon to 19.
Locked it in.
I like the Buckeyes 31-13.
He didn't move off of it.
No, he did not move off of it, and I'm trying to figure out why.
What does he know?
No. Yeah, what I'm trying to think. What makes you think they're only going to score 31 points?
Maybe they score more. I don't know.
Is this just
then your score prediction's wrong, Bob.
So do you just have an elite level of respect for Jim Leonard? Is that what this comes
Jim
down
Leonard
to?
he's a good defensive
good.
He's a great. I played against Jim. I've watched him coach these guys. They do a lot of NFL stuff. He's going to bring some heat. He's going to try to overcome their deficiencies in coverage with pressure on CJ. Now, if we can pick it all up, it's all good. If you can run the ball, that'll slow down the blitz. But before I go all Austin Ward and say it's going to be 77.
100-0.
How did I get this reputation? Those score predictions that I made
are spot
were
on.
Dead on. They were exactly
Spot
correct multiple times.
What's your prediction?
Okay.
Zach?
Just because I'm not scared to go out there, put myself on a limb.
Correct. You'll throw the haymaker, as will I, and I will admit I was wrong against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I thought Ryan Day was going to come out guns a-blazing, on fire. Notre Dame played him well, but I think I mentioned this earlier in the show. I think
Might have been lost.
It might have been lost. Who
Lost to
knows?
the gods.
Ryan Day, through the first couple games, has totally been feeling out his team. We thought he was going to come out guns blazing against Notre Dame. Didn't happen. Past couple games, even scoring 70-something against Toledo, still feeling out his team. He now knows what his defense can do. He now feels comfortable with Jim Knowles. He knows kind of what buttons to push on his offense. Guess what? This team's coming out Big Ten play, and they're just going to throw haymakers week in, week out against the rest of Big Ten, and he wants to let the country know Ohio State's here. 52-13. Buckeyes.
2-13. 50 burger.
I think
And if Emeka Buka's going for 250, they're scoring 52 points.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. And that's why, as I've always said, 45-24 Buckeyes. Yeah, exactly.
24. That's
Austin,
a
what do you
lot
got?
of points.
45-24. But here's the thing. I think that Ryan Day is very cognizant of the fact that Jim Leonard is a spectacular defensive coordinator. Elite, maybe. Some would say.
You heard him wax poetically about Jim Leonard in the presser.
Great family.
He has a lot of
elite family.
He has a lot of respect for Jim Leonard, and I think that he's going to come out and be aggressive, knowing that he doesn't want to play into Jim Leonard's scheme by doing too much that's predictable. And I think when the Buckeyes are predictable, that's when they get boring.
I mean, if you think
boring
about it,
leads to no points.
Jim Leonard runs a very NFL-style defense. There's a lot of Rex Ryan influence in this. I mean, this is going to be a very NFL-style matchup from an Ohio State offense, Ohio State offense, Badger defense standpoint with just schemes, different alignments, personnel groupings, everything they put together. So it'll be fun to watch.
So that's why you have an NFL score, 31-13, as opposed to like a college score.
You've put the pieces together.
Not really. NFL would
Austin
be like
has
31-24. I mean, every NFL game's
Think
pretty
that?
much neck and neck.
Yeah, it's all 21-17.
Yeah,
every single game.
31-24, 31-28.
This game, Saturday night, prime time, will be Ohio State 48, Wisconsin 16. And it'll be played in Big Ten weather, which is going to be the best part about it. It's here.
How do you get to 16, though?
Could be 8 safeties, as Bob might say.
Why would
Maybe
Bob say that?
2 touchdowns, safety,
Because about
1 touchdown,
15
9
minutes
field
ago,
goals.
before we lost the audio, that's what he
8
did say.
safeties. How do you get to 48? You thinking they won't score twice in the red zone? They'll kick 2 field
Are
goals?
you suggesting
Maybe
that
you
Noah
say-
Ruggles misses an extra point?
I
saying
think the surf bro might miss an extra
You
point.
saying they
Has,
don't you say that? Maybe get one blocked. Ooh.
You want to know something? We went through this entire segment,
Off the edge. I
and
just
no
wanna-
one talked about Braylon Allen.
Hmm.
No one. And I not that I'm going
Does
back on
does
it,
he
and-
matter?
And not that I'm throwing out another hot take, but I think Braylon Allen rushes for less than 50 yards on Saturday night.
This is a Melvin Gordon Big Ten championship
Yes.
scenario.
Ohio
Yes.
State has done a remarkable job against Wisconsin's elite running backs in the last decade, but I
They
guess
don't get beat by Wisconsin.
I guess the question is, does Braylon Allen matter in this game?
100%. They need to
No, I'm
run
saying-
the football.
If Ohio State's defense does its job, does it matter what he does?
No, but in order for Wisconsin to have a chance, they have to be able to run the
See,
football.
I'm
Graham Mertz is not going to win
See,
this
I'm on the
game.
complete opposite end of that. I think the only way they have a chance is
Graham Mertz-
if they do what the Buckeyes don't expect and come out and spread the ball around and don't do what Wisconsin always does, which is run the ball. I think
way.
Graham Mertz has to be the person to win this game for Wisconsin.
Well, Paul Chris already knows how Ohio State's going to defend inside zone, so
Way to go, Bob.
giving away
Way to
the
go,
game.
Zach. Spoiler alerts.
That part was great. We hope
Yeah.
you enjoyed that. Some of the weirder parts of this, and also the insightful stuff. We like to mix it all in together so that everybody can find something from a weekend kickoff brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling
It's a
Systems.
vegetable soup, Austin.
That's, you mix them all in there.
Yeah.
What's the best
Shepherd's pie.
What's the best vegetable in a vegetable soup?
The beef that goes in there that I put in.
Bob, we were just talking Lancaster
What's
education.
the best part of a vegetable soup?
beef.
Meat.
The roast that I put in there
Yeah.
with it. Because who just wants to eat a soup of vegetables? That sounds terrible. I like them in there.
Oh
They're a
my
nice
God.
accent piece. They're not carrying. They're not carrying the mail.
They're not,
Just like
they're not bringing
beef
the
soup?
heat.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. Whatever.
Beef soup.
What? I don't know. It's not a vegetable soup
You got
anymore.
any of that beef soup?
Yeah, that's going to be served at the Carpenter tailgate. I don't think there's going to be
At
vegetable
the
soup.
tailgate.
No, there will not.
Soup at the tailgate.
No, we do not have soup at tailgate. No,
That's right.
that's for sure.
Yeah, just some Fireball.
Just Fireball.
Everyone will be there. Stop by, say hi to Zach, grab some Fireball with him. Bob's getting ready for
Yeah,
the
America, if you see Zach Boren outside of Ohio Stadium, he will give you a shot of Fireball. You just have to ask.
That's
You don't
a true
even have to
statement.
ask. Sometimes he'll force you.
Yeah,
to
it's
do it.
true.
That's
He'll
a
try
true
to force
statement.
you to do it. But I want to get more talk about this beef soup.
No,
We'll talk about
we'll
that.
save
off,
that
off
for
camera,
a
yeah.
different show.
What kind of beef is it? Is it like a
It's
sirloin
roast, like a
steak?
chuck.
Okay.
Or you get sirloin beef tips.
Yeah, like a
put
little-
those in
Wants
there.
to head home and make some beefy vegetables.
You know what my favorite soup to make is? Cream of crab soup.
That sounds awful.
It's tremendous.
Sounds terrible.
Cream of
I'd
crab.
like to get that in Maryland.
First of all, I don't
I like to make it at home.
I don't
in,
like
in
a broth.
Michigan where I live.
No, let's see exactly.
Cream of crab.
And he gets the weird accent to kick it off.
It's like living in East Germany up there.
It's Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Bryant Heating
West
Cooling
Germany?
Systems. Don't worry about that.
You live
For-
in East
for
Germany.
having us in here. For the next big game, we'll be back. Maybe it'll be Iowa. I'm not sure if it's a big game, but maybe we'll do it anyway. Hopefully, you all enjoy it and look forward to the next one. For Berm, Bob, Boren, the Killer Bees, I'm Austin. We will see you next time.